Hi guys, my name is Christina and welcome to today's video. Before we get started, just a little heads up, I am dog sitting this week, so you might see a little fat beagle walking around in the video. Right now, he's actually... Say hi! So in today's video, as you guys can probably tell by the title, I'm just going to be sharing all the books I'm going to be unhauling. So these are just books that have been on my bookshelves that I don't really want to keep anymore or have no interest in reading in the future. So I'm gonna share each book and I'll give you guys the reasons why I don't want to keep the book. And it's a lot of these books, it's not really because it's bad or anything like that. I just don't have an interest in reading it. Or it's been on my bookshelves for a very long time and it's just not the type of book I would pick up on my own anymore. Alright, so let's get started. The first book I have on my list is called Kingdom of Souls. I believe this is part of a trilogy and it's by Rena Barron. I wanted this book a few years ago when it first came out, but after reading the synopsis right now, it just doesn't seem like something I'd be into. Okay, so I unhauled this book like a year ago, and just now after reading the synopsis, I think I might want to read it. Let's see what Goodreads reviews say about this book, because now I actually want to read it. Actually, guys, I'm really glad I decided to film this haul because I think I'm gonna go ahead and keep this book. So this will not be a book I unhaul. It kind of just shows that books you unhaul and keep for a while, you should probably go through before you fully unhaul them. Because now I want to keep it. Okay, next pile of books on my list that I want to unhaul, and I will be unhauling these books for sure because I already read them. And that is Serpent and Dove and Blood and Honey by Shelby Manhurin. This is part of a trilogy. I don't have the third book and I had no interest in purchasing and reading the third book, but I am unhauling this series. I really did enjoy the first book. I liked it quite a bit. I did find some of the religious aspects, kind of like how women are nothing but wives, baby breeders, and house cleaners, kind of irritating. Like, I understand that that's what the author wanted to share in her world build, but it just really annoyed the crap out of me. And it just, I think her main character wasn't strong enough for me either as a woman trying to represent witches, and her love interest where she was forced into a marriage with a priest. I just felt like he was being very like gullible, and I felt like she was being a little bit annoying. I don't know, I just felt the characters kind of, even though they are supposed to be like in their early 20s, I just found them to be like annoying 16-year-olds the way they were written. So I don't know, I was just kind of annoyed. But other than that, I did like what the author was trying to introduce, like the world build between witches and priests and the whole, and I love a enemies to lovers trope. So I think that's why I think I gave this one 3 stars. I just thought it was average, but I did find some of the characters very irritating, especially the head priest. He was just, he gave me really bad vibes, and I was just not interested in reading his dialogue at all. So, and then I picked up the sequel because I did enjoy the first book, but the sequel was just so boring, and all the characters, the main characters in the book, were pretty much contradicting everything they were saying in the first book. It just didn't make any sense to me. I was getting very irritated by that, and I just found the contradicting really annoying, and I don't know, I ended up giving it 2 stars, and I decided not to continue with the trilogy. And my library, I want to keep all the books that I loved and enjoyed and would recommend to people who visit my house and see all my books. And these are not books that I would recommend or enjoy. The first one, yeah, I did enjoy that one, but I don't want to keep something that I know that the second book pissed me off. So I decided it's just time to let these 2 go. Next, This might be a shock to some people because this book is widely loved and known in the book community, and that is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. I don't know what to say about this book. I started the audiobook and I was extremely lost and confused. I don't think the audiobook was for me, and I do think I should give this book a second chance and read it physically. But at the same time, I didn't really like the way the author had multiple point of views and multiple characters, and to me it was just too much. And after reading 3 different character chapters and getting a 4th new character chapter, I literally was lost and confused and didn't really remember the previous character chapters. It kind of felt a little bit like Game of Thrones to me, where every chapter was a different character, but at least with his, the chapters were long and the characters were a bit more very descriptive. You like pretty much knew the characters like really well, while here you don't know much about them except for the fact that this takes place in World War II and everyone's dealing with the war in their own way. And I just felt very lost, especially in the audiobook. I just don't think the audiobook was for me, and I think that's why I ended up unhauling this one. I don't know if I'll be picking it up, but it just doesn't seem my type of writing style at all. I don't like a lot of characters. I know in the end the characters' stories do kind of meet up and get combined, but I just didn't have the patience for it and decided to stop reading the book, stop listening to the audiobook. But it wasn't bad. I just think it should have been written in a different way. Next is a little mini series of manga, and that is Ultramaniac. The series only has 5 volumes in it. This is a really cute series following a girl who is a witch and she sucks at it. So she decides to jump into the human world and attend a human world school just to see if this is where she belongs. And there's a bunch of love triangles and it's really cutesy and it's a fun, joyful read. But it's not really the type of manga series I would ever pick up again. It was just too middle school for me. And so I thought, while I was decluttering, this would probably be the only one I would let go, and I decided to sell. Next was also a bit of a disappointment for me, and I wasn't expecting to be disappointed because I do like one of these authors. And this series that I am unhauling is the Illumini series by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I do love Jay Kristoff's adult series. I read Nevernight? I think that's the trilogy. I read that recently this year and I loved it so much, and then I ended up picking up this trilogy and I was honestly disappointed. I will say that the first book, I believe I gave 4 stars. I thought this was really interesting, and I love the fact that the AI unit in this ship was the villain, and it assumed that by killing off humans it was showing mercy, even though it didn't know it was doing a wrong thing. And I just thought the main characters in this one were also very strong, and I love their connection together. So this one I really did enjoy. But then I ended up picking up the sequel and it just wasn't what I expected. I didn't like the whole terrorism aspect of it, and it just kind of bored me to death. It did have the same like files and detective interview setting as the first book, but it was just kind of boring, and so I decided to drop it. And because that one didn't interest me, I decided not to even pick up the 3rd book. And so yeah, but I did hear that the audiobooks for this trilogy is really good because it does take place on a spaceship, so you do get all that spaceship background noise in the audiobooks and stuff like that. So maybe someday I'll give the audiobooks a chance, but physically reading it, it just wasn't my cup of tea. So the next book that I have is Sherlock Holmes versus Cthulhu. I can't pronounce that. But this is just a book that I ended up getting for free. I don't really remember how it ended up on my bookshelves, but I just don't have any interest in reading or picking up this book. I don't even know what it's about, but it's Sherlock Holmes, so it's like a detective story, but it's just not for me, so I'm just getting rid of it. Next I have Go Set a Watchman by Harper Lee. I did read To Kill a Mockingbird, and I had mixed feelings about that one. I just didn't really know what it was about going into it, and then when I read it I was kind of like, really upset and kind of surprised by the way things ended up in that book. The writing style and the way it was written and introduced to a reader was amazing, and it's something I think people should read in English, high school English classes. But then I ended up picking up her other book, and I honestly just didn't like it. I think I only read half of it, and it's a short book, but I just read half of it and I just wasn't feeling it. I was just so uncomfortable, and I wouldn't say uncomfortable, I was just like, this isn't my vibe. So I decided to just stop reading it, and I'm gonna sell it. Next is We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Fazale. I think that's how you pronounce it. I could be totally wrong. I don't know anything about this book, but when I read the synopsis, it just wasn't my cup of tea. But hey, I ended up keeping this one, so might as well just reread the synopsis for this one again and see if it's something I'll be interested in. Oh, it also came with art prints. Oh, because I got it as an Owl Crate book edition, so it came with art prints. But let's see if I'll change my mind by rereading this synopsis. It's not my cup of tea, but all I will say is about a girl who pretends to be a boy, and then a prince who needs to hide his feelings. Next is a trilogy that I have read, and I've seen the movie, and I was disappointed with the movie. The books weren't too bad, but they're just not my type of dystopian series trilogy anymore, so I'm just gonna get rid of them because they're just taking up space in my opinion. I don't see myself rereading them either, and they don't really give me any like flashbacks or nostalgia like feelings, you know. And that is The Fifth Wave trilogy by Ricky Yancey. I do wish that I'd read this. I wish I did pick it up when it first came out because I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more. But I ended up picking it up a couple years ago, where I'm just not really into the Hunger Games Divergent vibes. And that's what this kind of gave me. And I did read this a couple years ago, and then I watched the movie, which was just awfully made, and I just didn't like it very much. And now it just when I see it, I just think, eh. So I want to get rid of these books. If you guys enjoyed any of these books and you think I should give them a second chance, please let me know in the comments. Next is a series that might shock a lot of people in the YA fantasy bookish community. It shocked me. It really did. I was really upset, like really upset about unhauling this series, but it just gives me a bad taste in my mouth. So, and that is, if I can hold it up, the Red Queen series by Victoria Award. I am just not a fan of this author. She and I just don't meet or click, or we're just not meant for each other. I don't know, you guys, I actually enjoyed the first book a lot. I actually gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The only reason why I gave it 4 out of 5 instead of 5 stars was because, well, the author did a really good job with character development and world building, but I need romance in my fantasy books. Without the romance, I get extremely bored of the characters, which then I get bored of the book. And this whole entire book only has one kiss scene that only lasts like a paragraph, and that is it. And that actually really annoyed me because, one, I felt like the relationship, the kiss scene overall, or the love interest was very forced, and then it just didn't continue. Like, what was the point? If you're not going to continue or add additional romantic scenes in your books, don't add them at all. Like, I don't know, I was just really angry, and so I dropped a star for that. Yes, I do rate with my feelings sometimes, but you guys, I don't know, I just have to. I don't know. I was really upset, okay? But it did end in a very crazy cliffhanger, so I decided to pick up the sequel, and I regret doing that because the sequel is kind of what ruined the series for me. One, I felt like the characters were all over the place. There were new characters that were introduced that were also all over the place. I don't like where the story was going, and I thought it was boring. So, and once again, in this 300-page book, there was only one kiss scene. And so I decided that if this is how Victoria's gonna go, I'm not gonna continue with the series. So I decided not to even pick up the third or fourth book. And I'm really upset because I love the way these books look on my bookshelves, and I just love the covers and I love the synopsis of the books, but it's just making me upset and angry, and I don't want that. Books are a way for me to escape reality and to enjoy, not to be angry and pissy over. So yeah, the next series I was also kind of upset with, you guys, and that is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. I even have the first book signed. Come on. So in this series, it kind of is, this whole trilogy actually is a bit of a Harry Potter fan fiction. It's kind of like Harry and Malfoy love story, kind of, but Malfoy is a vampire. Yeah. So it's honestly the first book. I think I gave the first book 4 or 5 stars. I thought it was a funny, silly time. Like the whole fan fiction Harry Potter thing. I don't really read fan fiction. I don't like fan fiction. I just think it ruins my favorite characters. But I just thought this was hilarious. Like I had such a fun time reading it. I actually finished it in like one sitting and I couldn't put it down. And I love Rainbow Rowell's writing. I have like all of her books. I even met the author and I think she's such a kind and fun person to talk to and be around. She just gives like an amazing positive energy, and all of her books make me laugh in some sort of way, and this made me laugh. So I really did enjoy this one. So that's why I decided to pick up the sequel, because I had the sequel. I did. And this was a disappointment because one, they weren't in that magical element anymore, and so it wasn't like a fun vibe. I wasn't getting like haha Harry Potter vibes, you know. I was getting more like, ew, teenage problem vibes. Like, I don't know, I was just really annoyed, and everyone was breaking up and everyone's hearts were broken. It was just depressing and I just didn't want to deal with it. So I DNF'd it. And so I don't know what the third book is about because I just didn't continue with it. Yeah. Okay, so the next books, don't be angry with me. I have 3 different versions of this series and I don't need a paperback version, okay? And that is Harry Potter. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets and Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I don't need these. I have the hardcover editions, the illustrated editions here, and then I have these new editions in the other room. So I don't need the first and third book in paperback. So I'm just gonna toss those too. And then the last book is like a book that I just have no interest in keeping and haven't really opened in 10 years. And that is a shoujo manga techniques drawing basics educational book. How to draw manga. Yeah, that's right. You know, I've had this book for 15 years now and I just don't need it. So I'm just gonna sell it as well. So those are the books I'm unhauling. It's not a large amount. Like there are some people who are unhauling like 50 to 100 books, and that's not me. But hey, you guys, I decided to keep this one. So that's gonna go with my physical TBR books here. So I'm just gonna have to wrap that when I have the chance. But those are the books I am unhauling. Please let me know in the comments below if you guys like these books and have read them, or what you think. Do you think I should keep some of these? And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.